Hello everyone, welcome to the first AOPA Live this week of the new year. I'm Tom Haynes. Imagine this, local cops order you to land. They're even talking about shooting you down. They arrest you. They won't let you call folks who are concerned that you're overdue. They throw you in the pokey for over 24 hours. Couldn't happen here? Well, you're about to see that it did in Darlington County, South Carolina. AOPA online editor Sarah Brown has the story.
The morning of July 27, 2012, pilot Robin Fleming found himself cold, tired, and hungry inside the Darlington County, South Carolina Detention Center.
About a 15 by 15 foot cell with 12 other inmates on a concrete floor with a dirty blanket thrown at you, and that was it for the night.
He was able to make a brief phone call and was waiting for a bond hearing to get out. But first,
they said that I needed to be interviewed by Homeland Security and the FBI.
What was Robin accused of doing to wind up in jail and be questioned by the feds? The charges said breach of peace. It all started the afternoon before, when he set out for a cross-country flight from Bermuda High soaring near Jefferson, South Carolina.
I took off from here and I was trying to do a 500-kilometer triangle course, and I set off, went to the north of here, but during the day I found that the thermal strengths were not that great, and I couldn't attain. I got up to, I think, 5,000 feet at times, but it wasn't the sort of day to do a long cross country, but I decided to cut it short.
There's a tow plane on the right there, just going down.
Glider pilots searched for rising columns of air to climb up high enough to soar where they hoped to go. So when he decided to turn back, he had to find final glide, or enough altitude to make it home.
Okay, 22, looking.
His search took him around Lake Robinson, including one pass over the Robinson nuclear plant. A few minutes later, he saw a business jet taking off from nearby Hartsville Regional Airport, so he switched over to the Unicom long enough to hear something about a glider.
And I thought, I better listen to this, and there was a Unicom operator at the Hartsville airport that was asking me, what my intentions were and what I was doing, and did I know that I was over the nuclear power station. I said yes, I knew, but the wind was taking me away. I was circling away from the power station. It was not my intention to return to it, and I was heading back to Bermuda High. So there was silence for a little while, and eventually they came back and said that they just wanted me to land. They demanded that I landed. I was actually at that time in a thermal. I was climbing. I only had to go another few hundred feet, and I would have made enough altitude to get back to Bermuda High. But I elected to comply with their request, and so I called a downwind and called traffic in the Hartsville area and proceeded to do a landing.
When he got on the ground, he was swarmed by law enforcement officers.
So really the next thing they did, they actually handcuffed me and took me off to a patrol vehicle. I counted, when I was inside this patrol vehicle, I counted 12 police vehicles, black police vehicles on the airfield. And I think later on somebody else counted 17 altogether. So this was, obviously a pretty major incident that I'd created, and I still was puzzled as to what I'd actually done wrong.
It would take him hours to learn the charges were for breach of peace.
One of the statements that the law enforcement said initially was, did I realize I was in a no-fly zone? And I said, no, I had no idea that I was in a no-fly zone. I said, I fly in accordance with FAA-issued sectional charts, and there's nothing indicated on that chart to say that I was in a no-fly zone. And in fact, no-fly zone's not mentioned on charts. It's not a term that's used.
Not only did local law enforcement try to enforce airspace rules that don't exist, according to the Unicom operator, one officer wanted to take things a step further.
The police officers were talking to the fixed base operator and asking that I should be shot down. And so there was some talk of shooting my airplane down.
Robin was taken away to jail and spent more than 24 hours in custody, but the cops would not allow him to notify people back at the glider port. When he didn't come back, Jane Ewing Reed started to worry.
It was getting downright, late, and we still hadn't heard anything. So this is when you get that feeling, that something's not right.
They filed a missing aircraft report and started a search effort. A few hours later, she finally got word of what happened.
Could you repeat that, please? No, it was disbelief. It was Homeland Security and the FBI. You know, I was at that point relieved because at least we knew where Robin was and he wasn't, you know, in some field somewhere.
But the drama continued well into the next day.
About midday, I was taken out of the cell again and taken to a room, handcuffed, and there I met 3 people, 2 of whom were, I think, associated with Homeland Security, a lady and a gentleman, and 1 person from the FBI, and also the law enforcement officer was there present.
Robin explained to the authorities what the regulations were and that there is nothing marked on the sectional chart that says pilots can't fly over the Robinson plant.
I'll push it to this side, yeah.
He was bailed out of jail later that day and in August had his charges dismissed in exchange for agreeing not to sue Darlington County. Now that he's cleared his name, he wants to make sure pilots can be confident in relying on the sectional charts so that they can enjoy sunny days in the sky and not cold nights in jail.
And certainly glider flying is my passion.
Sarah Brown, AOPA Live.
An amazing story and rather scary, too. AOPA has been fighting for Robin Fleming since he got out of jail 5 months ago, and your association is working to ensure that in the future, law enforcement agencies and security at critical infrastructure understand how to respond appropriately when they have a concern about an aircraft. AOPA reached out to the staff of the Transportation Security Agency and National Protection and Programs Directorate. We requested action formally in a letter to DHS, the organization's parent agency. The TSA said it takes these matters seriously, quote, both in context of aircraft loitering in airspace around critical infrastructure, as well as appropriateness of responses by various organizations at the federal, state, and local levels. TSA said it would continue to work with agencies at all levels regarding airspace. Well, Robin is a longtime member of AOPA Pilot Protection Services. He received additional assistance from plan attorney John Hodge. Hodge is a 17,000-hour ATP-rated pilot. He offers some pointers in case you ever wind up being questioned by law enforcement.
So if the police start to question you, it's very important very early in the process to ask the question, am I under arrest? And if you're not under arrest, you are certainly free to leave the area, leave the situation. Of course, there again, that's where you want to make sure you have your driver's license, that you have, your pilot certificates back. If they want to look at them, they need to return them to you. If the police tell you that you're under arrest, then realize that anything that you say can and will be used against you. So it's very important that you retain the services of an attorney as soon as possible. And this again is where the AOPA Legal Services Plan does have a network of lawyers, and they can certainly put you in touch with someone and provide representation. And it's better that your lawyer then speak to law enforcement on your behalf. And as much as you want to maintain a civil and a compliant attitude to this entire process, you also don't want to make statements that later will be used against you to try to prove somehow that you violated either a local statute or ordinance or an FAA regulation for that matter as well.
You can become a member of AOPA Pilot Protection Services. It puts expert aviation attorneys at your disposal. Plans cost just $39 a year for a private pilot and $99 for a Protection Plus plan. Look for Pilot Protection Services on AOPA.org. You can find much more information about Robin Fleming's ordeal in the February edition of AOPA Pilot magazine. The digital edition comes out next week. You can get even more information right now on AOPA.org.